Welcome back to Murder on the Gore-ient Express. My name is Steven and we're here to work on Slasher Street today, which as the name implies will feature mostly characters and locations from classic, and some new, slasher films. I've got here the 5 houses in the location. I already painted the Elm Street house off camera as a test, but we're going to paint them a bit later. I did a bit of work off camera because I forgot to include the roadways when I was sculpt molding the board. I dug out the existing sculpt mold that was in the way and put down a layer of plaster. After just a little sanding and painting, we're all caught up. The buildings are dry fitted in place just to make sure I'm happy with their positions. All this ugly brown will be covered in grass later in the video. I'm going to start painting houses now, starting with the Myers house with a base of cotton blue, Prussian blue for the roof, the Bates house gets a nutmeg brown base. And some soft black for the roof. The windows and trim get a little bit of light mocha. It feels weird to see the Bates house in color. Let's see if I can do a little cool transition to see what it should look like in our minds. I can't, but here it is. Moving on to the Amityville horror house, starting with some creamy beige. You know, I've never seen these movies. Can anyone suggest a film to start on? The remake, the original, 17th sequel? I'm going to throw some warm brown on the roof while I contemplate that. I did the white trim around the windows and dormers with this cool little brush I found at Hobby Lobby. Good for really small details. Some pavement gray for the balcony and stoop. Go back in time about 20 seconds when I said this brush was good. This thing sucks. It just kind of pokes at you, jabs at your fingers. There's barely any sponge or whatever it is, so it just scrapes up the previous layer of paint. These brushes are one-time use garbage. The Addams family house is the easiest. The primer is already a good base coat. The roof just gets a soft black. Alright, as you can see, I left the windows kind of untouched and sloppy. We're going to deal with those a bit later in the video. But the Elm Street and Addams houses have open windows, so we're going to add lighting in a later video. I need a break from painting though. Next, we're going to do what's called ballasting. As mentioned last episode, I'm not a train guy, I'm a human guy. But I also don't know about trains, and I'm not sure what real-world practical application this stuff has, and research is for nerds. I'm just using a fine gray blend. I've already done a little test corner here. And by test corner, I mean I did most of the track except for Slasher Street, just so I could show you on the video what I'm doing here. I will, however, refer you to a ballasting video by Steve's Trains, great YouTube video for beginners like me. But just for a little intro, I'll just paint some Mod Podge about the width of the track. You want a decently thick coat so the gravel has something to grip onto. One thing I did learn is it's much easier to tap out of a cup than to use the shaker. Another tip I picked up from Steve's Trains. Again, find his video, it's more educational than mine is. I spritzed the area with an ass ton of isopropyl alcohol. This helps to break the surface tension so the large amount of glue seeps in between the gravel instead of sweeping it away in a puddle. This is actually about a 50-50 mix of glue and water. Here I'm applying some blended turf just to clean up the ballast lines. Makes for a neater transition. The turf also hides the uniformity of the brown oxide paint underneath. Continuing around the corner, I keep adding glue water mix and turf, making sure to brush away any excess. I tried anyway. Moving back to the house windows. The Elm Street and Addams houses have open windows, so I'll put lights in them eventually. but for the rest I want to black them out. Unfortunately, Boylai Hobby Time bought out the entire Galaxy supply of Black 3 and 4.0, but I did find this compatible one on Amazon. It's called Musu Black. Not sure if I pronounced that correctly. I do need to use a different tiny brush, however, because I broke the other one. This step is incredibly finicky. The windows I'm painting here are only 4mm wide. I think it just makes them look a little neater, and as if the house is just sitting in the dark. But these things still look a little too clean. I want the street to feel nearly abandoned and weathered. The next step should take care of that. We're going to blackwash them. Here I'm just brushing on a black wash. Black paint mixed with water and usually a drop of dish soap to help flow, but I didn't want flow improvement this time. I just wanted to stain the walls a little bit. The effect is most noticeable on the Amityville house. The dormers look like they're giving shade. The Bates house trim is similar. On the Myers house, the balcony looks weathered as if it's been used quite a bit. And because I left the Adams house white, it just tinted it slightly gray to match the movie. Moving back to the table, this is called a static grass applicator. It works using dark sorcery and unicorn tears. You fill the hopper with some fiber grass and charge this little doohickey with static. It makes the grass stand up in the glue mixture. All it takes is a shake and some weird shit happens. Here's what the grass looks like up close on my Elm Street house diorama. Just perks the grass up a little bit because otherwise scattering the grass would just make the fibers all land horizontally, which isn't super realistic. I can't remember where I picked this tip up, but a little spritz of water on top of the glue will help the conductivity. Sorry this goes by quick, I lost some footage. I'm new here, leave me alone. And in that lost footage was the rest of the static grass and the buildings being glued down. But we have some pretty serious gaps between the ground and some of the buildings. I'm going to patch these in with some flocking and grass. Once the trees goes in, those gaps will be invisible. Now this neighborhood needs some trash cans for realism. They are painted metallic silver and then hit with a thin black wash. The trash inside itself is just random colors I wet blended together. Ugh. This clip goes by pretty quick, but I am painting Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers, Hannibal Lecter, Ghostface, Leatherface, Pennywise, and Chucky. So, this is my first time painting N-scale figures. The tallest one here is 16mm. I don't think they're half bad, you can at least tell who they're supposed to be. Problem is, it took me an hour to paint just these 8 guys. I'm sure I bit off way more than I can chew with this whole table because I still have all these 3D prints to prime and paint. I mean, they never end, and there will be more printed during the course of these builds. So if you appreciate the time this has taken and will continue to take, please consider a like and subscribe if you feel I've earned it. Thanks for watching this far. On to the next step before I give myself a headache. Because of poor planning, I could have done this before painting it. I'm going through and cracking the asphalt with my hobby knife. No road stays flat and level, and Slasher Street is no exception. This looks like a lot, but it will be made more subtle after painting. Problem is, all the plaster dust makes a mess, and unfortunately some will be glued down by accident later. Ugh. Going back over the cracks with some of that same pavement gray color to help blend them in. This stuff is called Tamiya Panel Liner. I think it's primarily for like Gundam models and such. It's super thin and flows very well. It's very satisfying to watch. I try and fail to get the applicator into the crack, but going through with the paper towel can clean up all the paint above it. There are so many layers of glue and materials at this point that I need an electric drill to make holes for my trees. This is a fall variety from Woodland Scenics, which I don't love the uniformity of these colors. Off camera I dusted each tree with some fall foliage to add different colors to the trees. That's it for the episode. Now enjoy this weird trap song montage outro.
No.
What's your favorite scary movie, bitch?